Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today we're going to be going over some of your theories for the 60th anniversary and series 14 of Doctor Who. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny tiny little favour and click that subscribe button, I'd be ever so grateful. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, so if you could help us get there, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also, go follow me on Twitter if you don't already, as I post things like this, as well as my regular Doctor Who opinions over there. But with that said, let's get into the video. Neil Patrick Harris will be voicing Beep the Meep. At one point in the story, the Doctor will use regeneration energy to turn Beep into Neil Patrick Harris. The musical number, The Anniversary, ends with the revelation that Beep was both a Croton spy and the Valeyard all along. Wow. That's quite an idea. To be honest, the idea of Beep the Meep actually being the Toymaker in disguise is not one that's completely without merit. If you recall back to the sort of circus poster that was seen on set, it showed a weird rabbit along with what appears to be Neil Patrick Harris's character. So maybe they're one and the same, in a similar fashion to the Clown episode of Sarah Jane Adventures where Oddbod the Clown and the Circus Ringmaster are the same person who just morph into different things. Maybe that's what the Toymaker is. As for the Croton spy and Valeyard stuff, yeah, I'm not sure about that. My theory is that when Jodie falls off a cliff, she regenerates into Shooty, but then due to the Toymaker, he makes the Doctor change back to his favourite incarnation, and then he brings Donna's memory back of the Doctor slightly. This is why her daughter is called Rose. Okay, so this is interesting because this implies that Shooty will actually appear at the end of the regeneration of the 13th Doctor, but will be forced back into the 10th Doctor, sort of like a reset regeneration of sorts, which I quite like the idea of. I think I said before, I think that the Toymaker is going to have some sort of influence over the change into the 10th incarnation, or well, David Tennant's incarnation. He wouldn't technically be the 10th Doctor, but you know what I mean. As for the whole idea of him restoring Donna's memories partially, that would kind of make sense, although in filming it has sort of been shown that she doesn't know who the Doctor is yet in the earlier scenes, but I could definitely see it so that perhaps the Toymaker is making it so that Donna doesn't explode upon remembering the Doctor in this weird, like, sort of reality that he's created. Something interferes with the regeneration from the centenary special. The Doctor is aware that the Force may be infecting him, so he brings the now purged Donna with him. It turns out the Celestial Toymaker is playing with the rest of her regenerations. Of course, the 10th Doctor and Donna have to beat the Toymaker to save Earth and the rest of the regenerations, which they do, and save Jodie's Doctor to change into Shooty. Interesting. So I like the idea of the Doctor being infected by some sort of virus. I think that's actually something that's been sort of speculated, that there was a virus called, I think Timefall was the speculated name for it. The thing that basically Jodie gets infected with that means that she cycles through a bunch of old faces, including Tennant's. I quite like the idea of him saving Jodie so that she can regenerate into Shooty, because that way it wouldn't mean that he's a direct follow-on, which I wouldn't mind personally, but I think that's a cool way of going about it. As for the Toymaker playing with the rest of her regenerations, I guess that would imply we'd see other incarnations, or at the very least, it would be a sort of dimensions in time stroke dark dimension scenario where the incarnations are trapped by the Toymaker perhaps, and the goal of the 10th Doctor is to free them or something. That'd be quite interesting.
Pickled in time like gherkins in a jar.
RTD isn't coming back, it's all in your head. Wake up, Tharries. No. It can't be. Your theory you posted makes so much sense, so I'm just backing that. Okay, so if you don't know what this is referring to, basically I made a theory talking about what I thought the plot of the 60th was going to be a while back, and I think I got it pretty bang on the money. So if you haven't seen that, link will be in the corner. Go watch it. But yeah, the Toymaker will have retroactively influenced the Doctor's lives for a long time, like Clara and the Great Intelligence. This is an interesting one because it's sort of a timeline-altering villain, as in the vein of the Great Intelligence, and obviously Clara jumps into the time stream in name of the Doctor. This would make sense for an anniversary. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time it tied into an anniversary. That was what, you know, sort of led into Day of the Doctor. I wonder to what extent the Toymaker would have influence over the previous incarnations. I do like the idea that one thing that I sort of speculated when we only knew Tennant and Tate was coming back, before we knew about Neil Patrick Harris, was that the Trickster or someone like that could come back during the events of End of Time. When the Doctor says, I don't want to go, the Trickster could say something like, you don't have to go, join me in this agreement and you can stay like this. And the Doctor, out of desperation, agrees, thus creating this timeline. That could also happen with the Toymaker, to be fair. So something like that would be really cool. My prediction is Donna Noble is going to be a companion for the specials, but because of the memory every issue either being brought back or delayed will leave the character of Rose to be the companion for Series 14 with the 14th Doctor fully. Also, Neil Patrick Harris will sing. Yeah, I've seen some speculation that Yasmin Finney's character will carry over to Ncuti's incarnation. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I know that Yasmin and Ncuti are friends in real life, so that makes sense. Although apparently Yasmin's already wrapped filming, so that implies to me, at least in the specials, she's not massively involved, but that could mean that she's more involved in Series 14, I'm not sure. Also, as for Neil Patrick Harris singing, this is something I've seen a lot sort of suggested in this thread, actually, the idea of there being some sort of musical number in the 60th. Honestly, I could see it happening. In terms of Neil Patrick Harris, he's a very theatrical actor. All you need to look at is his scenes as Count Olaf in Series of Unfortunate Events to know that he's very sort of musically gifted, and it's very funny.
Who else has such robust good looks in such a large amount? I'm handsome and I'm talented and love your bank account.
So I feel like that's definitely a possibility. I mean, to be fair, the vibes of when he was dancing through the street in that filming stuff kind of gave me vibes of Series 3, when the Master is like listening to Voodoo Child and just rocking out. So yeah, I would not be surprised if he started singing in a random scene. 60th will probably be about moving on from nostalgia, and Series 14 will do a Series 11 where we get loads of variety with character work. Yeah, I agree with that. I've sort of speculated that the 10th Doctor's arc, or David Tennant's Doctor's arc, I sort of use the terms interchangeably, but I think you know who I'm on about, will sort of come to realise that he's ready to move on, and by extension that'll be a kind of metaphor to the audience of like, hey, 10th Doctor was great, but we're moving on now. So yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. As for a Series 11 style Series 14, again, I think that's probably accurate. I do think Series 14 is going to be a relative fresh start. I think Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Valeyard, and the reason they're bringing back Tennant is because he and Smith are the 12th and final incarnations, and the RTD is going to use that to explain why Tennant in the specials started acting so out of character. Interesting. I wouldn't say that in the 2009 specials Tennant was out of character though per se. I would say that the Time Lord Victoria stuff is stuff that's very much built up. But I do like the idea of him being the Valeyard. I mean, he would sort of be in disguise as the Soymaker, so it'd be a double sort of twist, I guess. I'm not opposed to the Valeyard coming back. I have a feeling David Tennant is one of the Doctor's enemies pretending to be the Doctor. Yeah, this is something I've seen speculated, the idea that the Doctor that we're seeing in the filming isn't actually the Doctor, but someone impersonating the Doctor, which would be quite interesting. Who that could be, I'm not sure, but leave your suggestions in the comments below. Neil Patrick Harris is actually a Slitheen, wearing the Celestial Toymaker's skin suit. The Absorbaloff will return and absorb the Doctor, and the Crotons will be the main villain of Series 14. Seriously though, I reckon there'll be an episode set on Raxacorico Phalopatorius in Series 14. I agree. I think Russell loves the Slitheen. I would really be surprised if they didn't come back at least once in his era, and I'd be all for it. Jodie somehow regenerates into the METACRISIS Doctor, and that's why the Doctor and Donna get to meet again. So yeah, this is another thing I've seen suggested, the idea that the Tennant Doctor that we're seeing isn't actually a new incarnation, but rather a version of the METACRISIS, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but I feel like it's weird that he has, like, 13's TARDIS in that case. I feel like it's more likely he's a new incarnation, but I'm still not going to completely rule out the idea of him being the METACRISIS. Tennant in 13's clothes will be a sight to behold. Yeah, I've always thought this, like when he regenerates, are we going to see him in Jodie's clothes? Because that would be very funny. The Doctor will be split apart like in The Vanquishers, resulting in the 10th Doctor and possibly other new versions of old incarnations. Oh, I like that idea. So it's almost like the regeneration splits off into multiple versions. That there will be two Doctors in different series for some time running in tandem. Oh, okay, so this is like sort of idea of a split series between the two Doctors, maybe Tennant and Ncuti. I like that idea, but I feel like they would let Ncuti have his own full series, outside the confines of the 10th Doctor. I'm not opposed to the idea of a split series between two Doctors down the road though. I'd feel like for a first series at least, you have to let him have his full one. I don't even know if I believe this, but during the centenary, 13 starts to regenerate and we slowly pull out before cutting to black. We don't come back to that scene until the end of the anniversary to reveal Ncuti. The events have all been in the Doctor's head. Okay, so there's quite a bit to unpack there. The idea of 13 regenerating and cutting to black, which personally would kind of annoy me personally. Like, I want to see what's happening next. But I understand why it could be done. As for the idea of the events at the anniversary being inside the Doctor's head, that's also something I've seen speculated. And that could work, you know, that could explain why things are all a bit topsy-turvy and weird, because it's all happening inside the Doctor's subconscious. One word, Omega. Now, this is an interesting one. I know a lot of people have said that they want Omega back, and to be honest, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Being honest though, I feel like Flux would have made more sense to bring Omega back, considering that if you think about it, Flux is kind of made out of dark matter, so I feel like it would have made more sense to bring him back there, but I would not be opposed to an Omega return in the specials. I think that'd be a really cool twist. But yeah, let me know if you think Omega's going to return in the 60th. The events of the 60th will lead to a new timeline / universe where Ncuti's Doctor can continue from a soft reboot, but leaving behind some of the baggage of more recent canon from all 3 showrunners. Now, this is an idea I've seen a lot, like the idea of a sort of reboot continuity, and I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it. If you think about it, you know, it's kind of happened in the revival before. Obviously, Series 1, you know, there's a big gap between Classic Who and New Who, so they kind of create the Time War as kind of a new status quo. And then in Series 5 as well, you have the resetting of the timeline by the Critics of Time. So I wouldn't be entirely opposed to this. I think it just depends on how it's done, but I think it's definitely the case that, like, the 10th Doctor episodes, or like David Tennant episodes, could be like the last hurrah for the past of the show, and then we move forward with a slightly altered continuity. And then they responded with also a less crazy theory, but I'm far more in love with this one. Rose has 100% grown up with Wilf, telling her stories of the Doctor, under the stars on that hill, both entirely made up and true ones, like the killer cars, Space Titanic, and the day the sky was stolen. I love this idea. I love the idea that Wilf would sort of sit with Yasmin Finney's character Rose and sort of tell her the events of past adventures. And I also saw someone speculate that I didn't include, but it kind of fits into this one quite well, that when Yasmin's character came out as trans, then maybe Sylvia and Wilf were one of the ones to suggest the name Rose as a sort of tribute to Rose Tyler, which I think would be really lovely as well. Companion Ditzy Doo will reunite with the Doctor. Is that a real companion, or are you just making that up, you pulling a fast one on me? I'm going to Google that. Ah, so apparently they're a My Little Pony Doctor Who character. That's not something I was expecting to see today. James England says more Doctors are going to return. I hope so, but I am admittedly less confident in that idea now, given how much we've seen of Tennant, and also, I just don't see it happening. But I'd love to be proven wrong. But I think that's going to wrap up this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Shout out to Debs Iona, Shane Smith, Ree Keffin, Seb Lowndes, Jay Monroe, Hash Shandycoot, Patrick Musson, Simon Ashley, Steve Safaro, Andrew Townsend, Alex Robbins, Michael Dykes, Paul Bryden, Sam Yates, Michael Rhodes, Jerry the Meerkat, Heretic, Cameron Jefferson, John M, Andrew Evanson, JM97, Gallifreyan Rob, Cliff's Random Silliness, Kyle McCroy, Nova Wolf Gaming, Carol Jude, Mr. KNL, Autumn Matthews, Josh Rocks 123, The Raggedy Jedi, Upmixed Time Lord, Ian. If you want to become a member, feel free to do so. It really helps out. You get exclusive posts, shout outs in every video, and even your own badge and custom emojis to use.